Just a second, as we're live right now. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Marketing Momentum with Charles and Deborah. I'm trying to slow that down. Hi, Charles.
Hi, Deb. Hi, everybody.
So today we're talking about, I said lead magnet, and I think, what was the other one? Psychological conditioning. That was the,
Yeah.
the big word. And I was inspired to pick this one, and then I'm going to turn over to you, Charles, because I get this email daily. I don't even know how I ended up on the list. I don't know who this is, so I apologize to this person, but it comes from Tech Magnus. So there's some free advertising for somebody that I don't know. Now I'll find out it's someone I do know, and I didn't know that was someone I knew. But anyway, so I get this daily email, and probably, I don't know, like 13 out of 14 times in a 2-week period is for a free Udemy course. And I never know if that's
Yeah.
Udemy or Udemy, but so I click on it, and probably like 10% of the time, I don't even look at what I just signed up for. It's just, hey,
Right.
it's
I
free. I'm
know.
going to add it to collection. And then when I'm looking for some training, I'll have, 300 courses or something to choose from. And many times these courses, they show up as 197. So I'm feeling like, wow, I just got a $200 gift. So what happens is now I'm conditioned that when I check my email, I don't actually get to a point where I'm searching for it, but you get that, like that, as far as you don't realize you're looking, but you are, and you're kind of scanning. It's like,
Right.
oh,
Right. Yeah.
yay, it's Tech Magnus. Now,
Right.
the 14th day, or not 14th day, it's not a specific day, but that one day, like every 2 weeks, that isn't Udemy, there's some ad for, or his, her, whoever, remember that person's product. So I get where we're going with it. There's probably in every email, and I don't pay attention because I just get the free stuff. So that
Correct.
said, there's obviously pros and cons. So now, Charles, now that I've babbled, everybody, your turn.
No, that's a good setup. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting thing because I've had some of that experience in there have been times, and I try not to do it disingenuously. There was a little while, and I think I might until I started doing something recently, I would give away at least one. I don't know what you want to call it, one PLR piece of content every day, and I would look at my open rates, and quite a few people were going there to open up the email to actually get the content. Now, um, I guess the question is going to be, and I haven't really, and I guess I should have, now that you have kind of brought this to mind, is to see how many of those people that are clicking on the content are also clicking on the
The
on
offer.
the right on the offer, because the downside is that if you attract people who want, right, the free stuff, right, they may or may not buy, right, and so you kind of you kind of start tailoring your messages to those people who are opening the emails but yet not buying, and that doesn't really necessarily help. So there's got to be a way to use that kind of marketing so that the same people that are opening and being rewarded with the free content are actually the people who are also buying, or at least some of them.
That makes sense. And I think in that case, Tech Magnus isn't quite yet, because I'm not even reading it. But I will say, Charles, I try to avoid your emails because, and I'm not,
Wow.
I'm not just saying that because you're here, but I mean, actually, your emails are so engaging. And I'm not just saying that, they are,
I
that I start
appreciate that.
watching, it's a conditioning the other way where it's like, what's Charles saying today? Or, what new tip? Because they're all meaningful. The same thing I've said with Eileen Smith, as far as it's not junk that you're sending out. You're actually sending out
Right.
some really, no, I try to avoid, because you do such a good job in your email that I want to buy everything. Everything that you send out is like, no, don't click on it. Don't click on it. Don't click on it. Because I really think that you're one of the most effective writers in that sense. As
Oh,
far
thank you.
as, because it does come out very genuine, warm. It doesn't come out like it's like scammy or spammy or anything where it's like, I'm just writing this because I really don't give a damn about you and I just want to get your money. It doesn't come off that way.
Well, yeah, and I have tried, and I think we've talked about this on a past episode, that I tried to use somebody else's strategy, which was to be more direct and to just, his he said, I've been reading your emails last couple of weeks. He said, and you don't you're not as upfront about selling as you should be, and so I really did try to do it his way, right? I tried to do it his way. Now, to put it in context, and what I said to him was, I said, your community and the people who read your emails and probably open them is probably 5 times the size of mine. So I said, we need to put that in context. He said, well, no, that's not the context. You need to learn how to engage the people that you have. That was fair. That was a fair comment. So I tried to do it his way, and unfortunately, and I think some of this is in terms of marketing. There has to be a point at which you sort of have to find your voice, and that voice has to be the thing that you lead with. And the people that open are the people that open, people that don't. And I remember this specifically. I talked to a lady named Ray Perry, and she used to talk to all the homeschoolers, right? And she did internet marketing for homeschoolers. And so I remember asking her one time if she would promote something of mine. I have no problem asking anybody anything. And
I need to learn that from you, by the way. But anyway,
so I called her, and so she very gently told me, first of all, that the offer that I have, it was just not right. But then she did take the time and she broke down every part that was probably not right about my offer, about my copy. And then she said, what you have to understand about any affiliate that mails is that every time that person sends an email, they're going to be able to get a bunch of people to unsubscribe just because whatever reason. They just kind of feel like, okay, you know what? I'm getting off everybody's email, or you know what? Who is this guy? Who's this girl? I'm getting off their email list. And so you're not taking a risk, but every time you send out an email, you're going to get people to unsubscribe. And so you do have to pick the things that you're going to say in there carefully. Well, I got tired of that because it's a catch-22. It's almost like you can't really market effectively if you're trying to be too careful.
That's me. I end up not sending anything out because it's like I don't want to lose anybody. And I think someone said it was probably like PJ Van Hall, and where it's like, applaud the fact that you lost that person because you don't want them on their dead weight. You might be paying a service for that quantity of subscribers, and you don't want someone that's dead weight that's not interested in your offer.
No,
I think even you said that. Haven't you, Charles?
It is. No, it's the truth, but it takes a long time to get there mentally. I think it just takes a long time to trying to look at it and say, you know what, I can. And another person a long time ago, I think his name is Brian McLeod, and it's a copywriting class that I bought, I don't know, maybe back in 2013. He said I never read because Weber gives people the opportunity to comment as to why they unsubscribe. And he said, don't ever read that stuff. And when you get one of them, you want to read it, right? You want to say, that has been the best piece of advice, that you can't read that. You can never read that because it just puts your mind in the wrong frame, and then you market wrong. Again, you market to try to keep people on the list as opposed to really just trying to reach the people with what you think will really benefit them.
That's a really good point. And I think I mentioned this before. At one of the conferences I went to, they talked about being like creating a sense of belonging, as far as, rather than going out and saying, why is it that you're not following me? Why don't you like me? That's people can kind of smell that sort of fear and lack of confidence. Just simply be yourself, be warm, and people will be attracted. It's along the field of dreams, build it and they will come, and the whole thing. But I was thinking about that today on Social Cafe. And it's been a little bit challenging because, oh, by the way, I'm just shamelessly going to say, feel free to join us in Social Cafe. That happens
an
hour and a half before this. Yeah, see, I'm trying to learn this whole ask thing. But I invited someone that I met, I think it was actually in, why can't I think of Eves? I can think of Eves and I can't think of Empire Avenue. I forgot the name. Yeah. Gary Loper, and he advertises himself as master of the Twitterverse. I was like, why am I picturing some cartoon or something from a few decades past? But he is so gracious. He is so kind. He is so pay it forward that it's similar to Charles. I've said after we do the show, when I'm done, I'm like up. Because it's a very positive thing that we're doing. I feel a marketing momentum versus I won't name names, but sometimes you hang out with people that are a little bit more negative, and you get done and you're like, I'm depressed, but I don't know why. Well, Gary Loper, it was Social Cafes doesn't quite have its vim and vigor yet because I moved it from Tuesday night to Thursday. So we're still trying to catch on and pull our audience over. There's so much going on. But so it was basically a conversation between three of us. But it was such an uplifting conversation. And one of the things that Gary said was go out and find people on Twitter that have less than 2,000 followers and go follow them to encourage them. And I was like, who says that kind of stuff? Maybe we do on Marketing Momentum, but I mean, we're so like, look at me, look at me, look at me. And that was, it's like, okay, somehow that related to something that you were saying. And
that was good.
I totally lost. But, you know, part of that finding your voice and not being so over promotional and really, as far as building community. And that's what it was, the unsubscribers, rather than worrying about it. It piggybacks on what you said as far as don't read the why they unsubscribe. Just simply create that place that's a positive environment. And the people that are supposed to be there will come.
And, you know, a part of it is too, this is the age of, you know, people not having a lot of time and a lot of social media. And we've talked about this before. At some point, somebody has to have a result. And so you can probably not be the best communicator in the world if you really have, and I have been talking about this on my webinars recently, and I almost feel myself, it feels strange even saying it, that, you know, you have to kind of lead with a result, right? So at some point you've done something that other people haven't done and they want to know how to do it. You can either tell them how to do it, you know, in the email, in a video, you can tell them how to do it in the course, but at some point people are going to kind of latch on to you because you have something that they want. And the hard part in our business, right, is that you're almost leading sometimes without a result. It's like trying to lead with a jab as opposed to, you know, a right hand. It lacks the real punch that it really needs to, not because your language isn't good, not because you're not engaging, not because you're not warm. It's just because, well, I've got an hour to, nobody really has an hour to sit down and like read, you know. But okay, I've got X number of minutes to sit here and go through about 7 gazillion billion emails right now. So which ones am I going to go through? If I'm really going to go through something that I think, oh, here's something from Real SEO. They're saying something about YouTube that I want to find out. So I'm going to zero in on that one. I'm going to see what they have to say. I'm going to end up going to their email, whatever that does for them, right? I haven't bought anything from Real SEO, but maybe they get website hit, maybe they get sponsorship, who knows? But they got me for that period of time. And eventually, even if the person, because their connection with my connection with Tim Schmoyer, right? I don't know him personally, is secondary to him having some good information on how to do YouTube. I mean, this dude knows it. So if there's something in there in that subject line that says, hey, you know, this is what's happening on YouTube, I'm going to listen to him in general because he's been able to get a result. And I think that's very key. It's a hard part to lead with that, because again, it separates once you lead with a result, then you say, you're automatically saying, I'm not this up here and I'm not that down there. And so then the people that are right in there are the people that zero in on that, are the people who really want to know. And so that's the scary part, right? Because you're not hiding anymore. You're saying, here's who I am. Here's my best result. You want to get it? Start listening. If not, I'm just going to talk about this for a while because I know how to tell you how to do this. And that's the part that I think when you have an email list, right, is as you said, you sort of think you have these people on that email list, and really you don't, because they're not opening the email. And even if you ever start talking about what you're really good at, right, what you could really teach them, that this is what they can learn, then they might very well then say, hey, well, if that's, I didn't know, man, she's no better than I am, or wow, I can never get to where she is, then they're gonna stop listening. But you do then get these people who are like, all right, that's what I need to hear. I'm gonna start listening to this guy.
That's a very good point. I was just thinking as far as video marketing because, and sometimes, we have expertise in a certain area. And if you're spending, and this is another thing I was talking to Eileen about content production versus content consumption.
Yep.
We spent a lot of time doing the content production, the content creation, a lot of writing, a lot of all this. By the time, at the end of the day, it's like, yes, I know how to do internet marketing, but I'm too tired to go write a newsletter about what it is I'm doing. And so, people don't hear about what you're doing. I was thinking as far as that different level, that's something I'm actually trying to learn how to convey to, let's say, the other group. In other words, I'll put this in context. We do video production. I'm not trying to say this is bragging, but we go for the quality end of it.
Right.
The green screen, there's 2 studios. Actually, one is being redone. So this is yet the smaller one. But we use Final Cut Pro. I say that to people and they're like, what is that? I've never heard of that, which isn't uncommon, but yet a lot of the studios are actually using Final Cut Pro. We have Digital Performer. Again, people are like, what are you talking about? I use, Camtasia. I'm not knocking Camtasia, but we're like in this other level where people don't know what we're talking about. And even on the music, yes, this sounds like bragging, but I'm trying to put this in context. But even on music, we've been disqualified because even though technically, and I've said this before on the show, even though technically I'm an indie musician, the sound is too good. So it gets rated as a major label. And then we get disqualified from contests for indie musicians. So it's like, you got to figure out where you fit, even on your marketing and your messaging to your email. So something I tried today is I wrote an article. It's not published yet, so I'm not advertising it, but it's okay. Here's the thing about video production. I do it with really high quality, expensive, it's like $10,000 by the time you invest in all the stuff. And I know that you're not reading this article because you want to spend $10,000. You want to know the easy way. So I'm going to give you some tips. And I gave them links, like Sparkle. I didn't give them all the software. Charles, I'm sure you use some of the same software I do as far as there's some really cool tools out there to create. And that's not the purpose of this, this episode. So
right.
But I gave them kind of should we say mainstream, the Sparkle, Powtoon, some of these places where people, and explain, you have to have a little bit of technical skill to use it.
Right.
You've got the time to do it. You can do it, but you don't have to have it to the level of quality. So the point in all this is, can you make a video with a smartphone and like completely avoid the computer, not have to worry about hard disk space? Yes, you can. It's not going to be the high quality. It's not going to be a Sony production. It's not going to be an Adobe production, but there's a lot of videos out there that are hilarious that are done with a smartphone. So figure out, I called it the quality question. Figure out where you are on that. And that goes for the same thing, bring it full circle back to what we were talking about. When you're giving your messaging, you may be a pro, like what we are, but bring it down a couple notches because maybe your audience wants to hear about not the simple stuff, let them go, not the overly complicated, but maybe you want to hear that middle section. How can you help your audience to reach that middle section and not require that they get to the same level that you're at? I just ended a sentence on a preposition, but
I have been having this conversation recently with people that have been on my webinars, and that are some of us, right, are probably in what I would call, and I use the word niche with a small n, inside of what I call the business opportunity niche. So in other words, these are people who are seeking a business opportunity. They're not necessarily, so if they shut it down tomorrow, nothing's going to happen. You don't need a business license. You don't need permission. It's a business opportunity. And that's a lot of what internet marketing is in general. Now, I understand that bothers people to hear that, because then they feel like, well, I'm not a business opportunity because I don't do multi-level marketing, and it has nothing to do with that,
right away, the connect.
Right. But it is because, and by saying that, I'm saying that what they're doing is not real business. I'm just saying that most of us are looking for a business opportunity, and that is what allows us to go from, maybe affiliate marketing to blogging to podcasts, and so we have all this room to kind of do these things, shut this thing down, and start this other thing. Whereas, I mean, if you are going to approach as a consultant, right? If you are going to serve the business community, somebody that has a brick and mortar business, you are expected to have something. You're expected to have something different, right? It's okay for me to be a dude with a baseball cap and show up in a business opportunity meeting. it's not okay for me to show up, even though we might have the same level of skill, even though we might be able to bring the same level of results. If I'm showing up to somebody who has a business license, who has a brick and mortar business or something like that, their expectation is going to be totally different. And so part of figuring out, this audience and what has been, I think, helping me recently, and I haven't totally fleshed this out, so haven't really gotten it right. I'm just kind of getting it, and as my wife said, in true Charles form. So you talk about it anyway. So you just talk about it anyway before you have it straight in your mind. So yes, I talk about it. So then if there is the business opportunity niche, there is a business niche. And so coming to terms with the fact that we are serving people who are in business opportunities. And I think some of that is really the tension that I have always sensed. And I was trying to really kind of get my arms around. And you and I are in a community of what we would call bloggers and other places. And I noticed that there is there's a reluctance, there's a revision when it comes to places like the Warrior Forum and other places like that. And I think that's because if you see yourself as a professional and you reach businesses and you reach professionals, you don't want to be seen as someone who's pursuing this just for money, right? Because people who pursue a business opportunity, and one of the things that I think that even though I'm degreed and I've been in corporate life, I think one of the things that I have found refreshing is it doesn't try to be something that it's not. People who are in a business opportunity are there to make money. Nobody's pretending, right? So you're not trying to write an email, not trying to write a blog post to try to hide the fact that you're going to ask for, people to buy something. By writing 500 words, you're just going to get right into it and say, here's what I want you to buy. And so
that's refreshing.
It is. And so the person can say yes or no. And I think that that helps people. It either helps people or it forces people to decide, okay, I want to market myself to professionals and businesses, which is cool. And it sort of means then that maybe, as you said, you can't use some of the business opportunity tools. That means then you're expected to be able to say, hey, okay, what'd you do this with? Oh, I did this with Final Cut Pro. I did this part with, Adobe Premiere. You're expected to say that, as opposed to, well, I'm going to get this tool because I don't have to use Photoshop with it, right? I'm going to create my graphics with this thing. It's $27. I'm going to buy it because I don't have to use Photoshop and I don't want to use Photoshop. And again, both are okay. But I guess, as you were saying, trying to decide and figure out who you're talking to, who you're marketing to, and where you are.
I think, you hit on several things there but there's almost a stigma with like the JV Zoo products, which I love. I mean, I'm just going to say it. I've got a lot of tools that I love. I evaluate, and this is no judgment against the JV Zoo community.
Right. Yeah.
My level of, to say ethics or, the whole pirating thing. And again, that could be a topic for another time. And I'm not accusing of anyone doing that one, but it's for each of us to decide when we're buying a tool to ensure that it meets with our own guidelines, ethics, whatever. And most of the time they do, but there's just different strokes for different folks. And anyway, that aside, again, that's a different topic. But for the most part, most of the stuff that I find JV Zoo, especially on the video, I think I have pretty much every video tool. Maybe not everyone. I'm trying to stop myself from buying them because I have a lot of video tools. And most of them are
pretty good. My emails.
Yes, yeah, I had to actually filter all my emails. I have a folder that says probably involves money, and I started filtering because I didn't want to unsubscribe. It's like, well, sometimes I want to hear this. So the idea is that if I want to spend money, I'll just go in that folder and pick an offer and do it. But really, I try to avoid it. So I haven't filtered you into that one, Charles. You actually come in my main one. But yeah, and actually, some of these tools I'm not mentioning because it's sad, but I forget the name. It's so easy to remember Camtasia,
right.
mainstream, and I'm like, what? Like there's the elite one, or I mean, there's the different video tools. I love them, I use them, but I forget the name. I don't know why it doesn't stick in my head. But then when people are like, okay, tell us what you're really using, I'm thinking it's that stigma. It's like, do I really want to tell them? Because then it's like, oh, you got that at Jamie Zoo. Yeah. So I
It's
just
the
kind of,
truth. And see, still, um, again, if I know that if I know who I'm selling to, right? If I know the people who are reading emails are primarily looking to make money, right? So at some point, you stop you stop with, I guess, trying to communicate something that's not that's indirect, right? And so I understand what the nature of pre-selling. I do, that you want to give people information, but at the end of the day, I think some of this is a confusion about where people really are. And so and you and I have both been there. I think, you know, blogging and podcasting and video, and web shows and video marketing, it's in that gray area, right? In some cases, you're talking to professionals. In some cases, you're talking to people in business opportunities, and both people buy things, but I know that one side buys things a little more, and that is the dilemma, because folks who are and this is, I don't say this as a bad thing. If you're spending and you've got a budget, and it's a corporate budget, it's a company budget, and even if it's your company, you're just not you're gonna spend a little more reluctantly, as opposed to somebody who is just here to make money, and they're looking for the right tool, and they're willing to go through a couple of tools and they'll buy it, right? Because they know that, okay, this might not work, but the next thing might work. And
exactly. Thank you. Yeah.
Right. And
it's like, it's only $7 and tomorrow it's gonna be 27. And it's like, well, what's the worst case? It doesn't work and I spend $7, and then I never look at it again. No.
And that is what, and I think when you're coming from corporate, you're coming from professional, you've been dealing with business, you say that's not how you launch a product, and that's not how you do things. It is true that is not how you would do things if you were in a professional, in a business world, dealing with people like that. But if you're in this world, right, and the people are here to just look for an idea, right? People are looking for an idea, even if it's not, let's say, making money, even if it's weight loss. People are looking for one idea that'll change them, right? They're not looking for if they want to go and they want to have a program, they go to Weight Watchers, they'll go to Curves, they'll go to all these places, they'll go to some place where they can undergo a program. But some people are just thinking, you know what? I'm one idea away from losing about 10,000 pounds. And so they'll buy it.
You know what that's called? I just learned this in my psychology course, and I'll try to keep it brief because this could go really. It's called a personal intervention. I always thought intervention was like you see it in Hollywood where someone's on drugs or something.
Right.
Well, actually in Hollywood too, but if someone's on drugs, you go grab them. It's like, hey, we're taking you out of the gang or something. But actually, when you want to change something about your behavior, or like a weight loss, you want to change how you approach life, and you're just doing it for yourself. It's actually called a personal intervention. I didn't know that, because the context of intervention, I think, is something totally different. That's a powerful term. And Weight Watchers, where it's a group, is a group intervention. So I thought, wow, that's not how I usually think of it, but it's interesting to learn that. You're personally intervening in your own behavior and whatever, but just a little psychology tidbit.
No, it is. And I guess, you know, does a person, I mean, can a person go to, and it works, obviously. The group intervention works for certain people. I mean, I'm thinking about, now my daughter isn't overweight, so she hasn't gone to weight loss, but my daughter's is social, right? Mm-hmm. So if it's got people involved, she's all for it. My other daughter is not. I mean, you know, if she can get the directions and get it done, she'd rather not have everybody around watching her. And so I guess, you know, some of this is personality driven. I still think that these areas are merging into each other because the economy is changing, and what used to be a corporate employee is no longer. And I mean, they're trying to give it a name in popular culture. They're calling it the gig economy. I don't even listen to these folks.
The gig economy. Okay.
Right. But and so they're now reading like Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week, and they're thinking, and really in popular culture,
oh, this is brand new, and
right, like, and they're talking about, wow, I just read the 4-Hour Work Week. That's pretty phenomenal. And so most of us who are in the business opportunity world, not only when we read it, did we know just about everything that he was already saying, right? We already knew that stuff. So it wasn't really all that revolutionary, but it was cool because it had hit the mainstream. But we've also read that years ago. Right. And so and so the difference is like people in popular culture they're just not getting this. They're saying, wow, this is like, manna from heaven.
That's like the GIFs. Have you seen like this big rage for GIFs? And I'm looking at this going, am I missing something? Because we were so into GIFs in the 90s. I mean, like every day I was creating lots of now they're a little bit different now that there's more of the stop animation, the whole thing. But I'm like, this is not a new thing. We were doing this way back when, and then everybody got on the YouTube craze, and we're repeating stuff that we were doing a couple decades. Oh no, this is new. This is the first time about. No, it isn't.
Right. No, it is. And what's interesting is now, and I remember, and I used to spend a lot of time in forums with other internet marketers. And again, I now try to clarify and say business opportunity seekers. And they had a real disdain for people who were, let's say, marketing executives, because they said, well, we know what's really going on down here where we are. They don't really know what's going on. And I'm thinking, well, maybe to some degree, but you still don't have $1 million budget, to spend money and test stuff on. And so, I mean, at a corporate level, I mean, I don't know if you've ever read the magazine or the journal eMarketer, where they're coming with the research, and they've got very high level research that really gets down to where marketers live. And I called them to ask them for a subscription, and when they don't put the subscription price on the actual website, when you gotta ask, you can't afford it. So
what was it? Now I'm curious. Are you not allowed to share?
No. The guy. I think, and I just have to try to remember it because I don't want to disparage them. I don't think they even care anyway. But I said, well, how much is an individual subscription? They said, well, Charles, we don't really have individual subscriptions. We kind of, I think we can start you out at something like 35, 40, 4,500. See, we typically don't. I said, what did you say? I said, what did you say? He said, well, yeah, we really don't deal with individuals. We deal with libraries and corporate, but again, I mean, and most people, like in that world, a lot of the stuff that people are really trying to do, all that information has already been studied, and they've got it there. It's in eMarketer. I think there's another, it's called Marketing Charts. They've got, I mean, that information, they're living exactly where people are. They know, how many people are doing what with their smartphone, what they're looking at, and they publish this information. And so, it's really funny trying to understand both worlds and trying to sneak and get my way into an eMarketer subscription.
That's right. That's good. But you brought up a really good point on the fact that there are two groups, because I don't think that there's a lot of us, and there's some stuff I can't say. Obviously, I could tell you offline. Sorry, guys, there's just stuff I can't disclose. But you and I have lived in both worlds, and sometimes it's really tricky because you have to converse on whatever level you're at. And I like how you said the business opportunity seekers versus business, because, I served two companies as chief technology officer. And as far as budget, not only would they laugh at me, they would question my credibility if I were even looking at something that was $7. But there's, there's that balance where it was like, okay, I was trying to get, one place wanted to spend too much money. He wanted the most expensive, what did I say, 300 gig of memory or something, like way more than we ever needed in a particular server. I can pick on him because he's out of business, probably because he was spending too much money.
Spending too much money, right?
Yes. Exactly. But the other one was a lot more careful with the spending. So there's that window where it's like, all right, we're going to get a router. No, we're not going to spend $3,995 on the router. And then, you go back and forth like, no, but you need this because if you go down, then you're not trading. And then, the whole thing, how it is in corporate America. But definitely would they not listen to me for $7? Well, then again, for $7, I would have just pulled out my Amex and just paid it with the business money. And then,
right? Yes, exactly.
And then the CFO would be like, your expense report looks really funky with a $7 expense. Oh, that was Starbucks. Yeah. That was, whole different way of looking at things.
It is, and it's really And sometimes I think never the two worlds shall meet, but I think that a lot of us who are, again, in content production, and we're trying to use content to do something. Who knows what it is? Some of us are trying to use content to attract people in to something, right? Whether or not it's trying to attract people to present ourselves as the brand, or trying to do content to present a company as a brand, middle market or corporate, we're using some of the same tactics. And so, as you said, whether somebody's using a tool that they got from the Warrior Forum because it does some stuff automated, or this guy has 10 college kids doing the same thing, it's kind of weird. And I think one of the things that I think, and I've been trying to do for my own sake, is really trying to analyze. Okay, let's take a look at a person's personal economics. Does it make sense? If I started today, if I started today, knowing where the industry is, if I started in marketing today, I would have a choice to make. I would have a choice to make to try to look at my trajectory of income. Would it make sense, right? Income wise, would it make sense for me to take an MBA into a corporate space, right? Even if I got all the perks, even if I got all the stuff, even if I got and I got promotions and all the stuff, just looking at after tax cash flow, the money that I can do something with the time that I have, what would it make more sense to do? And there's an argument that this, which looks cool, this is shiny, right? The corporate life is shiny, and and you get respect from people when you go to dinner parties. Somebody said, "Well, I'm VP of marketing at such and such a place," and people understand that, right? Yeah, right, and people dig that because they can understand that. But if you try to explain what it is you do, and well, I create stuff and I sell it. What does that mean? What are you talking about? But what does it matter if I can create the same level of freedom and income and opportunity as I can in a corporate life? Because it used to be that there was not even a possibility. Now, even though the path is murky, it's not as clear. It's possible.
It is. You're absolutely right. And in fact, you already know that I took a stint at Internet Marketing Ninjas. It was a positive stint. I helped them with project management. I feel like I'm rehearsing a script. No, I'm sincerely talking, but director of project management, train them how to do it. Kind of, I tend to work myself out of a job. But how do I say, no, okay, what I'm about to say? Let's put it this way, to go back to like giving up the freedom of being a freelancer, or whatever label we want to use, but have my own schedule, whatever. It needs to be my former glory. In other words, I made that decision. But no disrespect to Jim or Internet Marketing Ninjas, but the pay scale was not the same as being a chief technology officer in Beverly Hills, California. So, and many people don't reach that level as far as a business. You have, anyways, that said, I decided after that we're not going to hit the middle ground. We're not going to go get a day who says we when they're as far as a day job that kind of hits the middle level, and that's not an offense to IMN. That's just saying it doesn't work. By the time you have all the expenses, everything that you just mentioned, Charles, the balance doesn't quite work as well as far as the ROI. Plus the fact that I like to be in sunny California rather than cold country. But no, again, no offense to where you have four seasons. So I've decided that if we do that, it's the former glory. We're talking. It has to be the six figures. It has to be the office. It has to be the title. It has to be everything that I had when I was in corporate America for me to give up the freedom that I have now. And I think most people, if they're going to evaluate, rather than saying, oh, I want this, and the grass is greener on the other side of the fence, whole thing, really sit down and analyze what this is going to cost you. Nothing comes for free. So when you go for your day job, you're going to give up stuff, but the same works the other way. If you give up your day job, you're also going to lose some things. So figure out what it is that you really want and then just target it. Well, I mean, that's not easy. Just target it.
No, it's the truth, because really and truly, I've noticed it myself that more effort will generate more income, right? And I think some of what you kind of feel like, and this is because everything that we're doing is still a little new. It's still kind of it's still evolving, and so there was a time why I think we came to this, right? Where you could kind of just put it out there and it would produce. And so you could put some effort into it, but the effort was really just put it out there. And it would work because there were not a lot of people who were doing it, and because people were not as savvy in terms of how they evaluated what they were consuming.
Those are the good old days.
Those were the salad days.
That's what I remember that about 15 years ago. Yeah, Mike and I were doing really well with our domain registration service. I can say that without stumbling over myself. As far as hosting and the whole thing. And, if we need a little extra cash, we'd send out a special deal. Hey, get $1 off on the domains. Obviously before GoDaddy, before that, but it was before blogging. And I remember I was like a go-to person. I was featured on, we had e-zines. Do you remember those days where it was all about newsletters and there was no such thing as engagement? There was no social media. I know some of you watch going, huh? 1800s or something. But when I left that to go into corporate America, I was actually, so many people knew my name. I was featured several, and then I came out of corporate America, returned back, and it's like, whoa, where'd all it, like, I was looking the other day. I mean, Charles, we didn't have the opportunity to know each other back then, but yeah. I was looking up all the other quote unquote experts that I used to hang out with, and we almost like PACs and the whole thing. You still see that, but there's a lot more of them now. I was looking them up. I think I found one guy, Jim Daniels, Biz Gazette or something. He's like the only one from that group, and I'm thinking, what happened that I went into corporate America? Did some like comet fall and like kill all the experts that existed because they're gone? You find some people that you sort of cross paths in forums, but it's like it's a whole new generation. I realize there's younger people out there too, but now I watch it and people come out and go, I'm the expert in this. And look how many followers I have. And I don't mean to click on them. It's like, dude, I was an expert while you were in diapers,
And expert meant something different.
Yes. There were fewer of them. It was easier time as far as you could just put something out there. I could literally on my newsletter, and it was nothing to have, now people, it's like, wow, I have 3,000 people on my list, and you could do that in a week because everyone is so hungry for information. But now we're like information overload.
Right. And we are, and the people now, and this kind of even goes to something else. People who can, and you said this, right? If I have 10 emails in the box, and I'm going to be looking for yours, you've done something to clear away that piece of information overload, make something easy. There's something in there that I know I want, that you've made it easy for me, and now I look for your stuff. And I think that's like the next stage of whatever you want to call it, evolution, internet marketing, whatever the case is. And the people who can get there are going to do well. And I say this to, and there are some guys who are well ahead of me, right? And they're doing a lot better than I am. But I say this all the time. I said, Amazon doesn't care if you sign up for their email list. You're That's going, true. If you want something, you're going to Amazon.
I don't even know if I'm on their list.
Right. And so if I want something and I want it, I say, I think I better go check Amazon first. And at some point, I don't care how good you are, you want to be that in something. You want to be, and people, whether you call it the go-to person or whatever, you want to be, in my opinion, right? This is my opinion, that somehow this makes sense when somebody's looking for me for something. Like without me sending an email, they just wake up thinking, oh, well, you know what? I better check and see what's going on with Charles today in this thing. And that's marketing. That to me is marketing, whether it's personal branding, Walmart, for whatever people hate of them, they know if they want it cheap, right? They're going to go and get it from Walmart. And so if you get on their list, if you don't get on their list, they don't care because they've done the job. And obviously they've got a gazillion billion dollars to do the marketing and branding and all the other stuff. But what I'm saying is that I guess the goal of every marketing person, business opportunity, not business opportunity, is to get to that point where people are looking for me.
Exactly. And you know what? You brought it full circle perfectly for where we started, because I'm watching the clock too. We really enjoyed our conversation. You summed that up really well. And guys, I'm going to put a blurb out about Charles, because I am not just saying this, and he did not pay me to say this. I'm honestly saying this. The man knows how to compose emails. He gets that balance of warmth and the marketing edge. It's just, you got it right. However you're doing that, Charles, you got it right. I don't even know if you have your daughters help you write it, but then the Harper family knows how to write emails. In that one,
I wish they could. Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I do it all, but it does. It takes, it is, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. It took being pushed to do it. And, it takes a long time. Right. So now I can no longer sit down and throw together an email that takes me 10 or 15 minutes to write. It takes 45 minutes to an hour to sit down and write it.
It's good to know so people can manage expectations. And I'm not recommending viewers that you don't go copy Charles' email. Just get an idea of how he found his voice, because we all need to find our voice. So go to gainmindshare.com. There we go. Well, thanks, Charles. This has been fun.
Oh, thanks, Deborah.
And
bye,
thanks
everybody.
all for tuning in. We'll see you same time, same place next week.